for you right now. Start, Doombuds, go blau.
Well, hello there, my fellow Doombots and Lavarian citizens, and welcome to another episode of Journey to Doomsday. And in anticipation to Avengers Doomsday, of course, we will be talking about every single MCU movie, rambling about them, recapping and ranking them all. And today's movie is going to be Iron Man 2. But before we get into it, please like, comment, and doomscribe, or be doomed. Thank you very much. Let's start out with the ramble. Well, first of all, I gotta tell y'all that this movie has a very special place in my heart because I watched this on my birthday, and this was the very first MCU movie I watched in the theater, and I had such a great old time watching this movie. And yeah, I was freaking hooked. I already had watched The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man at home, and watching my first MCU superhero movie in the theater was just awesome. 1 year before this movie came out, Disney actually had purchased the MCU or Marvel movie studios, and that actually means that some people consider this the very first movie of the real MCU, because this is when they started to do this whole connected stuff and they were getting a bigger budget and all of this. Jon Favreau came back, the same director who did the very first movie, and the original plans for this movie was to actually adapt the storyline Demon in a Bottle, which sees Tony Stark in the comics struggle a lot with his alcoholism. And I think that Disney really didn't like this because it was their golden boy puking in the toilet and going through a really rough patch. This actually what we're looking at right now was the original opening of the movie, where before he goes to the Stark Expo, yeah, he was just really messed up because he was drinking so much. Those plans were actually scrapped in favor of more of a lenience towards setting up the Avengers movie, which Disney and Kevin Feige really wanted to set up, because yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to build this first phase of the MCU towards the big team-up movie. So instead of focusing on Tony Stark's personal problems with alcoholism and other stuff, they focused on setting up characters like Black Widow and Nick Fury that was teased in the post-credit scene of Iron Man #1. There have been a lot of rumors that behind the scenes it was a very harsh production because, of course, they did not have a script, and this actually led to Jon Favreau getting a little bit of a burnout. He even said, "I feel like I'm finishing this one the way El Cid finished the war, strapped onto his horse by his men and sent into battle that." So yeah, he was really burned out. I think that he even made a movie about it. It's called Chef. It's about a chef who goes through burnout, and you should really check out Chef. Chef is a great movie, man. Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. are also in that movie, so you should really check out Chef. But yeah, Iron Man 2, of course, had the core cast with Gwyneth Paltrow, Robert Downey Jr., and Happy Hogan, aka Jon Favreau as director and playing a little role, but also introduced some new characters and also recasting some. The biggest recast was actually that Terrence Howard got replaced by Don Cheadle, and there's this dude who's called Perlmutter. I don't know too much about this dude, but he's actually a really bad guy apparently, because he told somebody behind the scenes that they changed out Terrence Howard for Don Cheadle, and he said nobody would actually notice because black people all look the same. Like, he was a really gnarly, weird dude, and he also got fired because him and Kevin Feige were on really bad terms, because apparently behind the scenes this Perlmutter dude was blocking movies like Captain Marvel and Black Panther, so this was just a really bad dude. So yeah, I'm happy that this dude is out of the picture and that Kevin Feige could take over, because yeah, everything I've read about him is like, wait, what are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish in your career? Like, be a big piece of crap? But okay. So Don Cheadle replaced Terrence Howard. It was probably about money, because Terrence Howard got paid up the most money of anybody in the first Iron Man movie. Don Cheadle was actually the first choice for Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau really didn't like the performance of Terrence Howard, and I would agree. I thought his performance in Iron Man 1 was very, very stale, and a lot of the takes were not really usable, so Favreau really had to cut and edit to make anything out of the performance of him as Rhodey. So he wanted to reduce the size of the role of War Machine in the sequel. That's something that Kevin Feige really didn't want, because he wanted War Machine to be a part of the MCU. So he came to terms that it was better to actually recast the role. And I have to agree that Don Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr.'s chemistry together is way better. Like, I love how these two play off each other, even though Don Cheadle doesn't get a whole lot to do in Iron Man 2. I do have to say that there's more of a spark between them than there was between Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard. Oh, whoa, how did that get there? Oh, damn, yeah. It's so funny to picture these dudes, like, when they're doing these crazy scenes at the end of this film, that they're actually just standing there in pajamas. I always think that's really hilarious. Jon Favreau also pushed to cast Mickey Rourke as the bad guy Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash. And one of the reasons why is because both him and Robert Downey Jr. both have had troubled past, and then they would come back into the industry. Mickey Rourke would do it with The Wrestler, and Robert Downey Jr. would do it with Iron Man. So they both are kind of a mirror to each other, and that's also what the characters of Ivan Vanko and Tony Stark are in this movie, Iron Man 2, is they are like a dark mirror of what Tony Stark could become if he would become a bitter person, you know, if everything got taken away from him. I would really recommend that you go check out The Wrestler. Like, it's a great movie, and I think that Mickey Rourke is a really great actor, and even though a lot of people say that he is not that good in this film, I do enjoy his presence whenever he's there, especially when he says his catchphrase, "I want my boot." Apparently, Mickey Rourke made a couple of demands to be able to take this role. He had to be convinced, and his demands were: 1, he wanted to have a Russian accent; 2, he wanted to have a samurai bun; and the last thing was he needed a bird. And he got all 3 of those if you watch the movie. I don't really know too much about the character of Whiplash in the comics, but I do gotta say that I think that he is pretty freaking badass in this film when he shows up. He's also kind of funny, but I do gotta say that I really, really like Mickey Rourke's performance in this film. But Mickey Rourke himself has said that he really didn't like it, that the studio was breaking Favreau's balls, and that, that Marvel and Disney Studios, they cut his performance up so he would be like a one-dimensional bad guy. I do have to say, yeah, that's also how I perceive him. He's just a one-dimensional bad guy dude who just walks around with a toothpick and just does some bad stuff while looking pretty cool. I do like his performance, but the scenes that I've seen that were cut were actually really not that good, so I'm actually happy what he does in this film. But maybe there's some stuff that I've missed that he did in the film, because he apparently also behind the scenes went and visited Russian prisons, learned the language, and just did a whole bunch of research, just went full method on this character of Whiplash, which makes it all the more funnier when you think about it. But of course, this movie also had no script, so they really rushed Jon Favreau, and we already talked about that a little bit. And the person who felt that the most was this dude right here. I forget his name, I'll put it up on the screen later, who wrote Tropic Thunder, you know, that movie where Robert Downey Jr. plays a dude disguised as another dude who's playing a dude, you know, that movie. This movie's pretty awesome, man. So yeah, he hired this dude, but he really felt the crunch. He had to like rewrite every single day. He had to rewrite what the movie was gonna be, because Robert Downey Jr. would just improvise some shit, you know. The box office for this film was really good. On a budget of $200 million, it made like $600 million, so that's a good return. They 100% made money. I think that's more money than the first one made. Disney and Marvel Studios were really happy with that. It was a big success, and that's actually all I want to ramble about. Let's just recap the film. So, Iron Man 2, spoiler alert, Tom Holland, spoiler alert, with a SpongeBob filter on his head. The movie starts where the first Iron Man movie ended, and that is with Iron Man saying, "I am Iron Man," revealing his identity to the world. And this is being watched by Ivan Vanko and his father, whose name escapes my mind at this moment. But yeah, this is a pretty crazy scene. Especially that Ivan Vanko is on his father's deathbed with a bottle of Russian vodka. So yeah, you couldn't get more stereotypical than that. You see him use the blueprints of his father to make an arc reactor to fight with Tony Stark. I saw this image online which explains, the character of Whiplash a little bit, about his crimes, family secrets. He's a cyber criminal and all of this stuff. I thought it was a pretty dope little thing. It says here, Anton Vanko, that's his father, was a Russian scientist who helped Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark, build the very first arc reactor. Okay. However, Anton was deported to Siberia when Stark discovered he was trying to sell the technology to another company. So he was actually like a double agent. Family secrets. Years later, was on his deathbed, Anton told Ivan the truth behind the arc reactor. Ivan was convinced that Howard Stark had stolen his reactor. So this is pretty dope. Like, it explains you a little bit more backstory, some backstory which you do get a little bit of in the movie, but you don't get a whole lot of context. But yeah, he of course builds this Whiplash armor that you see right now on the screen. And then we cut to 6 months later, where Tony Stark is getting ready to go to the expo, and of course the original opening was him really drunk, puking in the toilet. But they didn't leave that in. He does the epic superhero landing. And then, yeah, this part is pretty freaking crazy, where he slowly spins around, and then underneath the Iron Man armor, he's wearing this very nice suit. Yeah, this is something that you will not see in the MCU on this day, is all of these sexy Iron Man girls running around with these arc reactors on their titties. Like, this is pretty crazy, man. It's a good scene, but it was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. I totally forgot that, but that gives the movie a little bit of bonus points. You got a Stan Lee cameo, who Tony Stark thinks that he's actually Larry King. Larry King, famous interviewer and late night TV show host. This is a picture of both of them. Rest in peace, Larry King. Rest in peace, Stan Lee. Both two solid dudes, as far as I know. We get a Kate Mara cameo as somebody who serves Tony Stark the papers to go to court. You might know her from Fan4Stick, where apparently she wears a wig or whatever. I don't know. I've never watched Fan4Stick. I don't know if I'll ever will. Maybe I'll only watch it if I do like a video like this on it, but no, I don't think I will ever be watching Fan4Stick. Then we get this scene where Tony Stark has to defend himself against, I think it's the US government that wants to take his suit. And I love this moment where Rhodey just basically breaks the fourth wall, Deadpool style, where he says, "Look, it's me, I'm here, deal with it, let's move on." It's almost like he's addressing the recast, so that's kind of funny. Oh yeah, I love Justin Hammer, played by, what's his name? Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell is such a great actor. He plays Justin Hammer, like a rival to Tony Stark, but he totally sucks at his job. Like, this part here, oh man, that's worse than Bane breaking your back. Imagine like spinning like 180 degrees and your entire spine is gone. Like, even the part where he adds after that, yeah, the pilot is fine after that. Like, geez Louise. Tony Stark is basically telling the US government, you cannot have what I want, peace out. I successfully privatized world peace. It's such a crazy part. Like, if you would do this in real life in a court, you'd probably get arrested and dragged off to prison, I guess, but I don't know, whatever. You find out that he's getting poisoned by his arc reactor because of the metal that's in the reactor cannot withstand the heat of him doing his Iron Man stuff, I guess. So he should really not be doing those crazy pulsar blast or whatever. But yeah, this is pretty gnarly. So he gets this poisoning all over his chest, and yeah, man, it looks pretty sick. Almost like he has a symbiote on his chest, and he's constantly drinking this liquid chlorophyll, which is counteracting the heavy metal poisoning that he has. So I like the detail that constantly through this entire movie he is drinking this weird greenish blackish drink. We get an argument between Pepper Potts and Tony Stark. Like, she wants to argue with him about something, but instead he appoints her CEO, which is pretty cool. Like, this actually does move the story forward, because now Pepper Potts is the CEO of Stark Industries. I like that part. And the first order of business, which is one of the best decisions he made, is she hires Natalie, whatever, it's Black Widow, but she has like some kind of fake name. Because yeah, this is great. This is really good that she hired Black Widow. This is she can add a whole lot of stuff to the team. Look at her just wiping out happy. Yeah, I love this reaction. Like, I think that both Pepper Potts and Tony Stark are really digging having Natasha Romanoff in their team. I also love this scene with Sam Rockwell. Like, this is kind of if you would put like a mirror, you would split the screen, you got like the reverse versions. You got Pepper Potts, who's like a maid woman now. She's like a CEO against like that reporter that she called taking out the trash in Iron Man 1, if you remember that scene where Pepper Potts like kicks her out because the first thing you see Tony Stark do is like sleep with this reporter that Sam Rockwell is talking to right now. They got Sam Rockwell trying to pretend like he's buddy with Tony Stark, and I love how Robert Downey Jr. plays this off, because Tony is 100% disgusted by Sam Rockwell in this moment. It's like, oh, just get away from me. Oh yeah, we also get the necessary billionaire cameo, like the Scooby Goober, Elon Musk with his freaking AIs. Get out of here. Tony Stark decides that he wants to become a race car driver, Brad Pitt style. So he kicks one of his own drivers out of his racing team because I guess he's a trillionaire. He has a racing team, and I don't know if there's any rules about this, but I guess so. He jumps in the car. I love this scene. Like, this is one of my favorite MCU scenes of all time. I love this part. Ivan Vanko is just walking down the track. His whole suit is like burning away. It looks so freaking sick. Following his father's blueprints, Ivan created a miniature arc reactor which he used to fuel 2 electrical whips with his energized appendages. He now had the power to get his revenge on Stark Industries, starting with Howard Stark's son. I love these energy whips. Unlike Iron Man, Whiplash has found a very different way to utilize the excess energy from the arc reactor. Instead of focusing it on repulsor rays, Whiplash transmits the energy through ionized plasma channels to his whips, turning them into lethal razor-sharp weapons that can cut through any metal. I love this scene, and I think that Mickey Rourke as Whiplash looks so freaking badass, cutting down these cars. It is just insane, but like, nobody's thinking to stop this dude. It is crazy. Eventually, Stark drives towards him, and then he cuts Stark in half because he didn't know what was happening. I also love this picture here in Reddit. Shows that in actuality, Whiplash should have cut off the legs of Tony Stark, which of course would not happen in this movie because it's not R-rated. But yeah, I think it is kind of funny to think about. Like, imagine if you just like crippled him immediately. Pretty insane. And yeah, Ivan Vanko is ready to beat your boy's ass. I just love these whip movements. I think it's so dope. I really like Whiplash in this movie, even though he's kind of cartoonish. I think he's really freaking sick, man. It's like, wow. Yeah, Tony Stark has to like run away from Whiplash and his whips. He's totally outmatched because he doesn't have his suit. I love how he's just staring at him like, what is happening? Then Whiplash gets hit by a car. Do you get it? Because the movie Whiplash. Have you ever seen Whiplash? You know the crazy jazz movie with J.K. Simmons? Go check it out. Maybe this is a little bit of a spoiler, but no, it's not. If you haven't seen it, go watch Whiplash. That's another movie I really recommend. But no, Whiplash gets hit by a car because Happy Hogan and Pepper Potts, and they hit Whiplash, Ivan Vanko with it, and they get this crazy part where Pepper Potts is screaming at Tony, "Are you out of your mind?" for trying to be a race car driver. Tony responds, "I was attacked." And this has to be like the best Iron Man suit up. Like, oh man, this suit up is so sick. I love the scene between Ivan Vanko and Tony Stark, like how it starts, the suit up, like when these two Funko Pops fight each other, it is freaking badass. I love this part. I love that his freaking Funko Pop also has a toothpick sticking out. Like, it's so funny that he made this part of his character. Most definitely has a weakness. Like, if you just hit him in the head, this dude is knocked out. He's a serious threat, and Tony Stark really is outmatched at first. He's like really overwhelmed because he was not expecting anybody to show up with an arc reactor technology and take him on, because even in the court hearing, he was saying like, nobody has this technology, nobody can stop me, I'm Iron Man, go do something about it, this part, it looks so freaking sick. I love this silver centurion, red centurion Iron Man armor, whatever it's called, looks freaking dope. And this part also where he takes the energy plasma whips of Whiplash, uses it to knock this fool out, eventually throwing him towards the ground. Just sick. I love it. And then you got Whiplash doing one of his catchphrases, "You'll lose. You'll lose, Stark." Ha ha ha. He really likes to do that part. Man, I once again, I gotta say, I love this armor. Looks freaking sick. Afterwards, we get a scene between Whiplash and Tony Stark, where basically Tony Stark like gives him the advice of, it's an interesting way of using the arc reactor technology, but it's still amateurish. And you're basically not as good as me, which Ivan Vanko laughs about, because he's saying like the point was actually showing the world that you are vulnerable, showing the world that you can bleed, because when there's blood in the water, sharks will come. So yeah, I think that this scene is pretty dope, and I think that like the whole design, I really love the design of Ivan Vanko in this movie. Like, I think he looks freaking sick. Looks like a Russian Johnny Depp on steroids. Like, this is a bad motherfucker, man. Like, I wouldn't mind if I was like 50 and I look like that. Looks freaking awesome. Or 40, I don't know. I'm sorry, Mickey Rourke, if I've offended you. I don't know your age, but you look like a cool motherfucker. Justin Hammer breaks Ivan Vanko out of prison, and then he offers him the deal of working for him together to take a shit on the Stark Expo stage because, I don't know, for some reason that's like the Comic Con of billionaires with freaky toys. Whiplash only wants one thing. Hey, I want my board. So yeah, if there's just 100% a compilation of him just saying, I want my bird. Ivan Vanko, of course, gets his bird, and in return, he gives Justin Hammer the software and the technology to make an army of drones. Actually, Hammer really wants to have these to be, Iron Man suits, with pilots in them, but he is convinced by Ivan Vanko that it's better if they're drones, just because he says drone better, bro. Tony Stark is drunk at his birthday. This is actually the lead scene which you're looking at right now. Pepper Potts is trying to calm him down. You of course get the infamous scene where he pisses in his pants and then he yells, "The party's over, but the real party's just begun!" Just totally losing his shit. I don't remember why anymore. Like, why did he lose his shit? Oh yeah, because Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, told him because I would do whatever I want with whoever I want. I don't know exactly why he's losing it, but he's losing it. He's having a good time. Then Rhodey takes the Mark II armor and he's like, "Yo, you better step down, Tony. You better relax." You get this crazy fight between the two with this Daft Punk remix. Like the music in this movie is pretty freaking sick. I love the music in this movie. Pepper Potts is like, "I know what you're doing to Tony Stark." I don't remember seeing this in the movie actually. Maybe it was in there, but like in the middle when she's trying to confront her, War Machine and Iron Man, they fall through the ceiling. So yeah, they gotta get out of there. They both shoot repulsor beams at each other, creating that thing where at the end they'll use this repulsor beam. Don't cross the streams! Move to defeat the bad guy, Ivan Vanko, of course. After that, Rhodey flies off with the Mark II Iron Man suit, and he goes to the army, and they all salute him, and they're like, "Whoa, we got ourselves an Iron Man suit. Good job, Major." Sam Rockwell shows up, saying Christmas came early, and he's gonna weaponize the Mark II, putting a bunch of extra junk on it, like stuff that's actually, I don't think is really effective at all. But at least it looks cool. I love the part where he's like hyping up this little missile. He calls it the ex-wife. I don't know what it is supposed to be, but it's supposed to be like a tiny nuclear thing, like an really crazy overkill device. But at the end of the movie, it's of course just played for a laugh because Rhodey shoots it at Ivan Vanko and it it just farts out in the water. Where was I? Oh yeah, Tony's like eating some donuts in a donut and Sam Jackson is just like, "Hey, come here, let's talk about the Avengers Initiative." Then he finds out that Natasha Romanoff, or whatever her name is, Natalie Roro, is a double agent. She gives him like some kind of cure or whatever so that temporarily he will feel a little bit better. Nick Fury tells Tony Stark that Agent Coulson is going to be his babysitter, and he also tells Tony that his father, Howard Stark, was a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D., which of course we're gonna see in Captain America. Tony also does some research about like the father of Ivan Vanko, Anton Vanko, the history with him and his father. Also, Anton Vanko showed up in the Agent Carter show, I guess. I don't know. I only watched season 1, but it's a fine show, but I don't know. I don't really remember all too much about it. I love this scene where Tony comes to apologize to Pepper Potts and gives her strawberries, only to be reminded by Pepper Potts that the only thing she is allergic to is strawberries. So that's pretty funny. But at least he knew there was a connection, But at least he's trying. I love this part when he asks Pepper Potts, "Can I move this?" And she's like, "No." "No, you cannot." Oh, I also love the line where Tony says, it looks like I lost both the children," talking about Happy Hogan and Natasha both being on the side of Pepper. This part also where he stops. Where he stops this little thingamajiggy. Tony takes the map of his father's expo. He takes it to his home, and then he finds out that secretly hidden in it is like the secret to a new element. Also, there's been a lot of debate or discourse about this scene where Howard Stark says to Tony, what is and always will be my greatest creation is you. And so people are saying, like, in the comics also Tony Stark was adopted, so what does Howard Stark mean by this? But I don't want to get up too far in that. That's a different video. Tony discovers a new element by just doing some crazy mumbo jumbo with a hologram. Jarvis is like, "Hey, you've discovered a new element, sir." Yeah, he just does some home renovation and he makes a new element, which, I like the montage. I like that Agent Coulson shows up with this Captain America shield, which they only use to pick up like the beam laser or whatever. Like Howard Stark being like, "My greatest creation was always this. Look at this cool Captain America shield. Have you ever seen it?" Yeah, that's a funny meme if you watch Civil War. So after Agent Coulson helped Tony with some stuff, he's like, "I gotta go away to New Mexico," and of course he has to go to Thor because Thor has landed. That's in the next movie. Justin Hammer is really pissed off at Ivan Vanko. I don't really remember why. I think it's still because of he wanted real people in the things and not drones or whatever. He takes Ivan Vanko's bird while Ivan Vanko is pretty pissed off there and left alone with 2 bodyguards or whatever. Justin Hammer does his little dance. Like, Sam Rockwell always finds a reason to dance in his movies, and he has the freaking moves, man. He looks pretty good. He does a little presentation. He talks about Air Force, Marine, Army, Navy, all of these Hammer drones, which, yeah, look pretty freaking sick. You know, I like how they look, and also like how they are used in the film. I think they're pretty cool. Then War Machine shows up after being pimped out. Tony gets a call from Ivan Vanko telling him, I want my Burt. No, he tells him, I'm going to destroy your whole Stark legacy in one night. You know, I'm going to mess you up. Also, I like that in the back you can see the 2 bodyguards hanging from the ceiling while the bird is on the shoulder of Ivan Vanko. I really wonder what happened to the bird after this movie. Like, that's a Marvel one-shot I want to see. Ooh, okay. Yeah, once again, pretty risky content in this movie, but yeah, you know, I will not complain. Also like the part that this is just the director of the film checking out Scarlett Johansson, but yeah, there's no problem with it because she was also in Chef. And you get this badass fight scene where Black Widow takes on like 10 dudes and just beats their ass. I love the fact that it takes Happy Hogan like 5 minutes to defeat one dude, and he has to play dirty by biting the dude in the ear, and at the same time ScarJo is just wiping these dudes, you know, he's just murking these mofos like easy money. Tony shows up to the Stark Expo to tell War Machine that Justin Hammer is working together with Ivan Vanko. Then these Warhammer drones go crazy, or these Hammer drones go crazy. I really like this part, you know, where you can see all of the different utensils, like all of the different functionalities of these drones. I think they look pretty freaking sick. Also like where the little kid in the Iron Man mask tries to stop one, but almost gets blown up by one because he sees that he's wearing an Iron Man mask. That's pretty freaking crazy. Tom Holland also has confirmed that this is actually Spider-Man? I don't know. I know for sure that Tom Holland was not the kid, because the kid in this shot here is actually the son of Jon Favreau. It has been confirmed by Tom Holland that this kid is actually Spider-Man, I guess. So he really is Iron Boy Jr. Sam Rockwell gets arrested because his drones go crazy, I guess. You think you're making a problem for me? I'm gonna make a problem for you. I'm gonna be seeing you real soon. And it's already been, I don't know how many years, like more than 15 years since we have seen Justin Hammer. I would really like to see him actually back, because I love Sam Rockwell and I think it would come back. You know, why not? Like, it would be dope to see him in like Armor Wars or whatever, that show from Don Cheadle that got canceled. I would love to see Sam Rockwell in that. I always love to see Sam Rockwell, and I like the MCU, and I think it's a good combination, and his character of Justin Hammer is pretty sick. Return to the battle. And by the way, this is a really shitty little Lego set. I think that this Lego set could have been a lot better, but whatever. Black Widow re-hacks the Rhodey suit because Rhodey was hacked. Okay, that was also a little bit of side plot, whatever. They can beat the ass out of these Hammer drones, and let me tell you, this part is so sick. I love this part so much. Like the whole scene with all of the army drones versus Iron Man and War Machine, I think it's pretty dope. Once again, I think it's really funny that they're actually in pajamas where they're filming all of this badass stuff. You know, they're just wearing polka dot pajamas. After they defeat all of the Hammer drones, Ivan Vanko shows up in his Ironmonger Whiplash suit, which once again I think it looks pretty dope, even though I like his original look more. Just him with the whips going full BDSM style. I like the fact that they just try to shoot him in the head. It would have been funny if at least he worked on that weakness, you know. They do the move they did earlier in the movie where together they do the repulsor blast. Where is it here? Yeah, the same repulsor blast they did earlier in the movie. They use together to defeat Ivan Vanko, blowing up Ivan, and I guess because he was in the middle, he got really badly hurt. And then he says his other catchphrase, not "I want my Burt," but he says "You lose." And then all of the Hammer drones, they like blow up. Tony Stark has to save Pepper Potts right before she blows up. But that's not actually the original ending. In the original ending, it's actually Whiplash only holding Pepper Potts hostage with like these little tiny Whiplash things. Yeah, I'll just play it for you here, right here. Wait. So yeah, the original one is Tony then shows up. He takes his suit off, and then both of them They have these little whiplash things around their neck while he is like evilly monologuing, and then Pepper Potts gives Tony Stark this tiny ball of nanotech, which he uses to disarm Whiplash and beat him up. But yeah, this part is actually really dumb because in the original ending, the ex-wife is used for something kind of goofy. It's a little joke, but in this version, the ex-wife is actually used to blow up Ivan Vanko's character, which is a little bit overkill because it's supposedly a freaking nuclear nuke. It's a tiny nuke, so it's way too overkill. So if this would hit him, they would all die. I think that the original ending is a lot better, with him showing up in this really big Ironmonger suit. It's not the greatest ending of all time, but I do prefer than the original one. It's kind of a letdown. The original ending. The whole expo gets destroyed. Tony kisses Pepper Potts on the roof while Rhodey is awkwardly staring at them. But it's okay because he was on the roof first. Well, the ending of this movie is kind of odd because the ending of this movie is Nick Fury rejecting Tony Stark from the Avengers by telling him, like, we want Iron Man, but Tony Stark is not really recommended. And this is from some kind of book report Black Widow did on Tony Stark. So this is kind of like, what? We did this whole setup in Iron Man 1 for the Avengers. Now you're telling him he cannot be in the Avengers, which is kind of odd. Well, yeah, I think Tony was right. They couldn't afford him. He was in the Avengers, and they didn't even talk about the scene in Iron Man 2, but I don't think that Jon Favreau could really do anything about this. This is more like a storyline that Josh Whedon should have picked up on for this movie. I don't know. It's just kind of odd. It's kind of a plot hole, but whatever. Oh yeah, the same dude who was wanted to steal Tony Stark's stuff is the one who gives him the medal and pinches him a little bit. And this dude also turns out to be Hydra later. The post-credit scene of this movie is Agent Coulson looking at the hammer of Thor. And yeah, overall, I really like this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't think it's like one of the greatest movies. It maybe has a little bit of plot holes and stuff, but I do really enjoy it. Like it enough that I was thinking like, man, I gotta get myself some of these toys. I really want to have a Mickey Rourke Whiplash action figure because I think he looks really sick. And if I can ever find this box set, I would 100% pick it up. Well, let's just talk about ranking because this has been going on for far too long. I'm almost recording for an hour long. I wonder how long this video is going to be. I will give this movie 3.5 out of 5 Dooms. I would say this is a fun time while you're high. Let's just go to my ranking of all of these movies. Yeah. Well, yeah, in the movie ranking, I will rank Iron Man 2 number 3 behind Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk. In the villain ranking, I would also rank Iron Man 2 behind Obadiah Stane and Emil Blonsky as number 3. The scene ranking, I will give it number 1. I do think that the Grand Prix attack in Iron Man 2 is one of the best MCU scenes. I think it is so well done. I love the build-up. It looks really awesome, but I do think that this is the best scene of the whole film. Yeah, all the other stuff is kind of a letdown. Then number 2, I got Hulk versus Abomination. Number 3, I got the first Iron Man suit up. And then what's the last one? Post-credit scene ranking. Well, I will give it, I don't really care too much about this post-credit scene, I guess. But number 1 is Iron Man with Nick Fury. Number 2 is the post-credit scene with Tony Stark talking to Thunderbolt Ross, because I love that it canonizes The Incredible Hulk, like one of my favorite movies of the MCU. And then number 3, I'm going to put Thor. Don't get me wrong, I think Thor is fine, but I just think that these other post-credit scenes are doper than just looking at some dude's hammer. Well, that's it for me. Please like, comment, and doomscribe. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Iron Man 2. Do you think it's a convoluted mess? Do you enjoy it? What do you think of Mickey Rourke as Ivan Vanko? Just, and also what do you think of Justin Hammer and all that stuff? Okay, Doom it out and have yourself a happy Doomsday.